ever dreamed of having a fish tank similar to this in your house? Well, there's a simple step-by-step process you can follow in order to achieve a fish tank like this. The first thing you must ask yourself is where you're going to put your tank. You need to break out your measuring tape and make sure that's not directly in front of a window or under a vent. This could cause different water temperatures and could be fatal to some of your fish. Once you have all your measurements, you can go to your local pet store. The next thing you need to decide is what size tank and what shape. How many gallons of water do you want your tank to have? How many fish are going to be in there? Most beginners opt for a 10-gallon tank, but with the smaller the tank, you could add too much chemicals and it would be very fatal. So I would recommend a 20 to 30-gallon tank for a beginner. The size of your aquarium is not necessarily limited to your local pet store. They could give you the name of a glass company that will design your custom shape and size. So you would have endless possibilities just depending upon your space. I believe that a 50 to 75-gallon tank is the best size, even for beginners. This is a 75-gallon tank, and it looks wonderful. It makes a great addition to your home. It can hold big and or small fish and draws attention in your house. After choosing the size and shape of your aquarium, the next thing you will want to decide is if you will be having a freshwater or saltwater aquarium. Freshwater aquariums are more common and are less work to keep up with than a saltwater tank. In addition, saltwater tanks cost more in the beginning to set up. Saltwater fish are also harder to find in your local pet stores. They have plenty of options for freshwater. These fish in here are tropical fish, but we'll get into what different types of fish you can have later. Now that you have decided what type of tank, it's time to purchase and install the necessary components and accessories. After the tank is set up on the stand, this is a canopy stand which was custom made for this tank. You don't necessarily have to have that as long as it can hold the water and the weight of your tank. It doesn't matter. Whatever fits and works for you. After you get it all set up, you may want to add the water. You will want to treat it with a starter chemical to get all the chlorine out and any other bad chemicals that may be in it. For more advanced users, you can purchase a test kit and only add chemicals specific to the results of the test. Next, you will want to install your filter. Filters can range anywhere from $20 to over $100. After choosing which one that you want, attach it to the back of your tank and then turn it on. Some people also choose to have an underground filtration system. This isn't required, but some prefer it and say that it also keeps the tank cleaner and less work involved for you. This tank specifically does not have one, but I have seen tanks with it. The underground filtration system goes underneath the gravel and the decorations, and you can't see it. If you do decide to have that, now is when you should put that in. Next, you need to purchase and rinse gravel or rocks that you will put in the bottom of your tank. It is very, very important to rinse everything that goes in your tank. You can choose bright and colorful rocks or stone-colored rocks. Sand is also an option for the bottom of your tank. Most people use rocks though. The people that do use sand normally have a saltwater tank. That way it's just like the ocean. It doesn't matter what you use for gravel, just make sure it's rinsed, as I said before. After the gravel is in, you can add decorations like this fish house or plants. You couldn't tell that some of these plants are fake, but this one and that one is. The other are real, so it's your option. But you need to make sure that you bury it in the gravel, that way it looks like it's growing. Most everything needs to be buried in the gravel, unless you want your plants floating. That's entirely up to you. Another accessory that makes a good addition to your tank is a bubble curtain. That would be these little bubbles right back here. That also adds oxygen for your fish. Also, you can add a back. They sell these at Walmart and any other local fish store, and all it is basically like wallpaper, and it makes a pretty scenery in the background. After all of your accessories and everything you want has been added to your tank, make sure to test the water again and treat it with necessary chemicals. Now would be time to purchase your fish. Goldfish are the easiest to maintain, but they are also the dirtiest fish, which means that you may have to clean the tank by hand more often. In choosing your fish, you will need to be aware of its environment and what other kind of fish it gets along with. These in here are all tropical fish. Tropical fish can be mixed with goldfish. As you can see, we have a couple of goldfish that are in the goldfish family. The next thing that you need to be aware of is that your water temperature needs to be correct. Most tanks require, and fish require, that it be between 70 and 80 degrees, and in order to achieve the ideal temperature, it's best to purchase a water heater for your tank. That would be this over here in the back corner. And here's a thermometer to check it daily. That way you can adjust it. You can find this at your local pet store or Walmart. After your tank is ready and has the right water temperature, you can add your fish. When you bring your fish home in a bag, set the bag floating inside of the tank for about 10 minutes and let it sit. What you're doing by doing this is letting your fish get adjusted to your water temperature and not the temperature of the water that was in the bag. After this is done, you can let your fish out and let them swim into their new home. I would suggest while purchasing fish that you also purchase an algae eater, otherwise known as a Precostinus. There is one in here, but he's hiding. If you do purchase an algae eater, you need to buy a house or a rock or something for him to hide under. He's actually in that rock. They like to hide when they're not eating. What an algae eater does is sucks on the side of this glass and cleans up your tank, so therefore you're not having to do much work. If you have a big tank, you can buy a big algae eater or a couple small ones. It's entirely up to you. Last but not least, remember to feed your fish daily. Some people opt to feed the fish twice a day, but once a day is sufficient. Keep in mind not to overfeed your fish. Fish will eat until they can eat and can't eat anymore and die. They will explode, believe it or not. And that's how to set up a simple home aquarium.